This is the Prince Media. I am your host, Prince God's Power Joseph. Like, share, and subscribe. Please subscribe so that you get our video anytime it is out. Thank you for...
We gather today not to merely unveil a book, but to celebrate a story that is at once deeply personal and profoundly national. The book we launch today, From Trader to Trailblazer, the story of Peter Obi, is more than pages bound in print. It is a chronicle of resilience, vision, and the transformative power of principled leadership. Going down memory lane, I have known His Excellency Peter Obi for more than 15 years and can profoundly stand to defend his personality, character, and competence, whether night or day. Books, as you know, are monuments of memory. They preserve not only facts, but spirit, not only events, but lessons. And in celebrating this particular story, we honor the journey of a man who began in the marketplace and rose to become a household name in Nigeria's boardrooms, political and social consciousness. Mr. Peter Gregory Obi represents that man, embodies that spirit, and is a true representation of a man which we should truly desire to lead this country. About the book, From Trader to Trailblazer, the author has woven a narrative that traces Peter Obi's humble beginnings as a trader, his bold rise in business, his trailblazing role as governor of Anambra State, and his emergence as a beacon of integrity in Nigerian political firmament. The book is at once biography, history, and inspiration. It reminds us that greatness is not an accident of birth, but an outcome of discipline, vision, and courage. It reminds us that politics is not only about power, but about service. It reminds us that a leader's worth is measured not in the wealth they amass, but in the lives they touch and the values they uphold. That values, you know day and night, you know every day that can resonate, that appeal can be found in the person of Peter Gregory Obi. Why this story matters now? Ladies and gentlemen, the timing of this land could not be more significant. We live in a nation at crossroads, where corruption corrodes institutions, where the youth groan under the unemployment, and where cynicism threatens and overshadows hope. The hope is becoming bleak every day. People are afraid of their next meal and where to come from. The cost of living has gone beyond the reach of the common man and totally wipe out the middle class of this great country. In such a time as this, the story of Peter Obi offers an alternative imagination of leadership, a leadership that we can trust, a leadership that can make sure Nigeria succeeds. Here is a man who insists that public funds should be meant for public good, who demonstrated, even in the face of opposition, that frugality, accountability, and transparency are not outdated virtues, but timeless imperatives. While people talk about, I must just jump a little bit of this paragraph and correct an impression. When people compare Lagos growth with that of Anambra, I laugh. Lagos control about 60% of our nation's economy. All the ports authority are there. The channel to resources is there. In fact, the revenue generation of the Ikeja alone could threaten the revenue generation of Anambra State. It is not because the people there are incompetent. It is because by virtue of the opportunity Lagos has as federal capital territory, was very developed. Resources were pumped there. I was born in Lagos. I grew up in Lagos. So I can tell you the advantage over Anambra and the resources generated in Anambra. If Peter Obi had the same opportunity, the same level of resources, I believe there would not be even need to compare Anambra with Lagos. There will be more need to compare Anambra with states like New York. Why? Because resources play a very important role in the development of a state. In the little resources that came to Anambra, in comparison, if Anambra during the time of Peter Obi, local government resources where money was stopped, maybe people in that state would have starved to death. But under Lagos State, the resources generated, IGR alone, the business infrastructure that has been developed by the President of Federal Government presence and all other presence of the society, has also given Lagos the advantage that makes it look as if other states are lazy. But I'm telling you, as soon as we try to spread development and ports in Onitsha, ports in Delta start to work, Nigeria will have an equal and very smooth development for other community of states. In such a time as this, from trader to trailblazer is therefore not only the story of an individual, it is our collective story. It is a story of hope, a story that we can clinch upon, a story that we can tell our children, a man that we can say should be a true representation of a mentor to our future generation, where public resources under him will not be stolen. It is mirror for our nation. It takes us what values guide our leaders. That is what we should be asking. What are the values that guide our leaders? If these leaders were guided by the values that Peter Obi represents, I am telling you the waste of resources, the embezzlement of public funds for personal use, which have left our people poor, which have left our country struggling, which have left the economy not growing and shrinking on a daily basis, would have been defeated if these values were found in other leaders. The author's contribution to knowledge. You know, when you do research, there's what they call your contribution to knowledge. It is not just a research that you do for the purpose of maybe probably documenting it. What are your contributions? What did you see? So the author contribution, we must also commend the author who has done a patriotic service by capturing this narrative in accessible prose. In telling Peter Obi's story, he is telling Nigeria's story, the story of possibility, the story of what happens when vision meets opportunity, when character meets responsibility. As Chinua Achebe said, he once reminds us that until lions have their own historians, the history of the hunt will always glorify that of the hunter. This book is part of that necessary duty to document, to preserve, and to inspire. The lessons for our youth. To the young people here today, this is your story as much as it's that of Peter Obi's story. It is a proof that you need not to be born into a privilege, political privilege, or political entrenched family to leave a mark as you move on the journey of life. It is a proof that with discipline, due diligence, education, and values, you too can move from an ordinary person to an extraordinary personality. This book is called to rise above excuses, to embrace excellence. In every trader, there is a potential trailblazer. In every young Nigerian, there is a leader waiting to emerge. Call to action. I want to challenge us all not to leave this book on the shelf as mere literature, but to treat it as a manual of possibility. Let it inspire us to demand for more from our leaders, to hold ourselves accountable, and to believe that once more, that in this Nigerian dream, a lot is possible. That in this Nigerian dream, where competence, where merit, where ability, where tribe and tongue will not overpass those characters that I've mentioned. We must know that if Nigeria must do well, if Nigeria must take its place in the community of nations, we must do away with tribalism, bigotry, all sense of discrimination against persons, either from calling people minority to majority. But we must look at the character of the kind of leaders we want to lead this country. And that character, for me, I've said it, I work with a lot of people in this country. I've met a lot of big men in this country. I've worked where they're serving as governor and where they're out of governor. I've been close to them. But the reason why I've decided that it's on this road I will travel is because of the character and the reputation that Peter Obi has sustained throughout his public, social, and private life. Let us buy it, read it, give it, and discuss it. Let this book ignite conversation in schools, universities, churches, mosques, reading clubs, and indeed in our homes. For in the telling of this story, we are reminded that history is never distant, that it is here, it is now, and it is with us. In closing, I must sincerely conclude that let me say this. Peter Obi's journey from trader to trailblazer is a proof of character. It's a proof that character matters, that vision matters, and that courage also matters. And this book ensures that the story will not be lost to the noise of politics, but preserved for generations and testimony of those who will come to run the affairs of this country in the future. I must say this, staying out of the book. So let us rise to celebrate not just the author and his labor, not just the subject of the book, but also the ideal that book embodied that Nigeria can do well and that our people can live better. And this country can prosper under a fair and justiciable society if we stand by the truth and act by the truth. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to declare from trader to trailblazer, the story of Peter Obi officially launched. A new Nigeria is possible. Thank you and God bless you. Before I conclude, I know you've been patient with me. Before I conclude, I want to thank those of you who are here. None of us here who do not have a choice. There's a lot of food is ready in our Nigerian politics. All of you here have a choice. None of you here matter less. None of you matter less. We tend to live in the euphoria of the moment. That is the Nigerian something. We have what they call attention lifespan. We can't sustain a struggle and not get weakened or listen to side stories. Or if our benefits are not met, we move on. The struggle to save Nigeria, the struggle to make this country work, the struggle to create an equal society where a man from Southeast is seen as equal from a man from Southwest. That a man from my village in Ogugu is also seen as equal as a man from Kenji. It's that kind of society that we should drive towards. Because we cannot have a society where public resources is used to benefit very micro few. Then what happened to the few, your future? What happened to the future of your own children? Politics takes charge of a lot of issues. But people want us to play it away. There were small mistakes we made while they were able to steal the mandate of Peter Obi. But we are not going to be putting ourselves in blame game or blaming everybody or avoiding not to blame ourselves. Because all of us will share in that fault. Nobody will say they're going to leave isolation out of that. But what do we do going to 2027? What do we do? We must organize. We must stop agonizing. We must stop complaining. We must stop being afraid. Because this country, I'm telling you, people know what is right. And that's why the wave of Peter Obi was very huge when it comes to 2027. He won the election. I've given statistics to people on national TV, on radio station, that election was won by Peter Obi. And nobody can contradict that statistics. I have it. I've written about it. The statistics are open, they are naked. You cannot run away from it. If they say you rely on the data released by INEC, I ask them, is the IRF data also not INEC data? So please, we should not give up hope. There's no structure greater than the structure of the people. For all of you, you've demystified the political entrenchment system that we have had since 1999. When they say you cannot contest for election because you have no godfather. Everybody have demystified that. To show that what matters is that Nigerians can go to the ballot and define and also decide the cost of their action, of their growth and development. That is how the 6.5 million vote came. Those votes were more than 10 million votes. But I assure you, the greatest fear of APC today, forget people talk of guys, the greatest fear is Peter Obi. It's their fear. I have friends, highly placed. I have friends everywhere. It's their fear. So they are doing everything to damp his spirit, to damp the spirit of his supporters. If you go to social media today, there's 24 hours watch on the street. They attack him on everything. It is deliberate. It is organized. It is, don't see it like something that is happening out of nowhere. It is organized attack on his personality. They want to dampen your spirit. They want to make sure that new people do not believe in the story and in his intention for the good of this country. I've never asked anybody to support him because he's Southeast. He has never asked for that. But I tell you, until we start to give Southeast people, our people there, their share of this country, until we start to see them and give them the share in this national development, it will be difficult for Nigeria to say it's building a fair and just society. Because if there's a deliberate attempt to reduce my own people, which is Igala, or deliberate attempt to reduce an Agans man, a Biron man, a Pasange man, in the territory called Nigeria, there's an attempt to make sure that there are very few continue to rule us. And it is our right to change this trajectory. I thank you so much for taking your time to be here, to be part of the Trader to Trailblazer launching of this book. The author should be commended, he should be given a resounding applause, and he should be praised for his diligence and his commitment to see that Nigeria represents the true wishes of our people. This country is our country. This Nigeria belongs to you, belongs to me, and belongs to our future generations. And for us to sustain it and make it work, it is our collective duty to demand that elections are transparent. And I have written about electoral reforms. This is my last take on this place. I've written about electoral reform, but recently, there's what they call epiphany. As if I had an epiphany. A sudden realization that the only thing that can save Nigeria is not even the electoral reform. Because I can quote Constitution for you offhand, all the Constitution, all the provision of he's a lawyer. If I quote them, he can go and check. He can tell you if I'm lying. I quote them on national TV. Everywhere I go to. I know where the reforms are. We need to conduct our elections in one day. Good and fine. That will stop some of this rigging you are saying because they will be overwhelmed. But two, the most important thing is that they are part of the human infrastructure. The human infrastructure, if it's missing, you'll be defeated. You can see it happen in Botswana, it happened in Ghana. That was human infrastructure. It's the agents. Agents are very critical. You must have them in 179,000 polling units. This side, they are very critical because when you need to present your form ECA, you should not be depending on INEC to give you his own copy. INEC copy is already flawed, already rigged, and already mutilated. So you must have your own copy directly from the poll unit. And I believe that those of you who are here who are leaders will be able to make us achieve that. Come to